What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Hands-On channel. You know, oftentimes people tell me, they look around and they're like, man, you got too many projects. And I'm like, yeah, you're probably right. I probably do have too many projects, but at the same time, those projects are what gives me that, inspiration to keep going and to get up in the morning and, check things out, see what's going on in a new day and all that stuff. But I do admit, sometimes it gets a bit overwhelming. Everywhere I look, there's a project. So part of the reason that you guys haven't heard a lot from me is, man, I've been mowing like crazy because this has been the wettest year I've ever experienced here at the Hands-On channel, suburb homestead. I'm working on a project back here on the Mahindra, just kind of a mock-up right now. It's just sitting up there, but you can see, hopefully you can make that out. That garage door might be throwing it off, but there's a golf cart roof up there. So I wanted to get some protection from the sun because I recently got burned pretty bad when I was out doing some work for a friend of mine and doing some driveway work and stuff, just doing gravel. But yeah, I've got tons and tons of projects going on. I've got the white Honda right there. It's having a charging problem. Man, it seems like every time I turn around, I'm buying a freaking battery. My ever-growing pile of batteries that are no good over here. And actually, I'm missing one somewhere. It may be buried behind that wood. But yeah, every single time I turn around, it's like I can't get a decent battery anymore. But yeah, back to what I was going to show you a sneak peek of this because I'll probably make a standalone video. Right now, I've just got a couple of C-clamps up there holding that thing on so I can mock it up and see about where I want to put it. Because this is the larger golf cart roof. It's like for a 4-seater golf cart rather than a 2-seater. And at first I was like, I don't know if I should do that. But after I got burned like a lobster, and I looked like a lobster the last time after doing all that box blade work for that guy, redoing his gravel, I wanted to have some sun protection. But here's the deal. You can probably see that's not going to fit under my garage door. It doesn't even fit with the roll bar extended. So I have to remember to turn that down before I come in, or I'll blow my garage door and part of the garage framing out. Because when I built this garage, I didn't plan on having a tractor, and especially not parked in here. But we've had to do this because I can't keep it over at my land because I'm not living at the land. And there are numerous, let's just say, ne'er-do-wells or bad intentioned people around the area that if they think that you're sleeping and you're not paying attention, well, they'll come over and they'll either steal it, which is worst case scenario, or they'll destroy it if they can't steal it, because that's the kind of people they are. I've already had several of them destroy some containers early on when we bought the 100 acres. I don't know if it's a jealousy thing or what. Part of me thinks it's resentment from the previous owners who kept a small piece and then sold me the vast majority, against their will, mind you. Grandma made that decision because the younger generations weren't taking care of things. But anyway, I've been working on this, trying to mock this up, and even just getting that up there with no framing on it, it was fairly difficult. So I've been racking my brain on a mounting system that I can come up with using some angle iron and keeping the frame as minimal as possible because I'm going to have to lift it on and off. Now, it might be easier, I don't know yet, it might be easier to fold the bar down, have it outside the building, fold the bar down, the bar down and clip it on while it's in the downward position and then flip it up. But my idea is to take some angle iron, because I've got a lot of it. So the idea here is we're going to take some angle iron. Now it'll be up there underneath where it mounts, but I can't really show you from up there right now. But it's just going to basically go around and capture. It's going to be like a U. I'm going to weld two of them together and it'll be like a U, and it'll sit down on top, an upside down horseshoe or something. It'll sit down on top of that bar like that, click. And so that's the idea, is I'll only have to get up there and lift it once, and I'll be able to slide. This will be attached to the roof paneling there, or the golf cart roof, and it'll slide over and go click. And then there'll be a couple of other support bars going forward. Now I did think about, I've got some bed frame material. Now it doesn't weld worth a darn. I don't know exactly why. I don't know if it's high carbon or what the deal is with it, but that welding on it is not easy. Usually you have to heat it up first to get it to take a weld. It acts more like cast iron or something like that. But I did think about using the bed springs, or I'm not the springs, the frame, the bed frame rails to go forward. And if I can get away with that, if I think they'll be strong enough, I may do that, because I don't want it to be heavy. That's what I keep running into. I was going to use some big old giant angle iron I have here, that's like 1/4 inch thick, and it may not quite be a quarter, but it's close to a 1/4 inch thick, and it's, I think it's 3 by 3 or something like that. It's pretty big, heavy stuff. But this other stuff here is much lighter. So if I can use this, I will. But bed frame rails would be even lighter than that. So yeah, I've just been racking my brain trying to figure out the best, safest way to go ahead and do this where it's reliable for years to come. I don't like stuff. That's one thing as a mechanic I wanted to tell you guys about, and you can let me know in the comments if this is you too. There's one thing that really aggravates the crap out of me, and that's having to do something twice, because my time is precious. And as I've gotten older, I'm trying to become more stoic. I'm not saying I am stoic. There's times that I complain about things that are outside of my control, but I'm trying to do less of that. I'm trying to focus on things that are controllable inside of my life. And so I bought that golf cart roof. I talked about it in a video, but that video didn't get very many views for some reason. And that's cool. I'm not complaining. I don't even care. I'm just going to leave it as is. I'm not going to try to change thumbnails or make flashy titles or whatever. It just doesn't pay off. It's a type of selling your soul. Maybe it's not as bad as putting your wife on there in booty pants or something, but it's the next step down from that. The thumbnail, the clickbait thumbnails and things like that. And oh my God, off topic here, but are you guys like me and you're tired of a lot of your favorite creators using AI generated images of, like, I don't know, let's say Barack Obama and Nancy Pelosi, and they're both screaming and they're making screaming face, and then they're like, they're putting them behind bars, whatever. Are you guys tired of that shit? And then you click on the video and they never even talk about anything like that. It's 100% clickbait. I've seen several people that I like doing it. Like, I'll name a couple of names, like that guy, Benny Johnson. Now, I only like him in small doses, but there have been a couple times I've enjoyed some of his videos. But yeah, that clickbait stuff, it's repellent to me. But I don't know, man. They keep getting, hundreds of thousands of views. I guess I'm the one that's wrong. So I don't know. I don't know what little mini rant concluded there. I've got to figure something out. A little side thing came up last night when it started raining cats and dogs out of nowhere. I mean, it was just, I couldn't believe it. All of a sudden, boom, it's storming. And I had to hurry up and come out here at the last second, move the Bombardier, which I'm working on right now. I had to move it out of the way, move the Harley over, move the Honda over, and push that up in there so my wife could get her car in here, the Lexus, because, this is her bay for when it starts storming and stuff. But anyway, all of a sudden I noticed the top of my wood stove is all wet on that left side right there. And I'm like, what the hell? And I'm looking up here. I've got that gasket in there. I don't know if the gasket has failed or what, but yet, again, every direction I look, I've got a project that I've got to work on. It's just one of the things about being a homesteader, a farmer, trying to live a more self-sustaining, self-reliant lifestyle. And, I have to do a lot of things. When I envision things like this, I'm like, oh yeah, in my head, it's real easy. It's like, oh yeah, I'll just slap that thing on there, stitch with a couple of welds, Zeus it together, boom, it's done. Put some bolts in there. But see, that's the thing you don't sit and think about when you're, contemplating, is this job worth it or what? But I'll probably have 8 hours in this thing by the time it's done. Welding, fabricating, and probably 6 of those hours will be just contemplating and thinking and designing and figuring out what's the best way to do it out of the materials that I have available to me, because I don't want to go buy new materials. So, and I also want to keep it as lightweight as humanly possible. Other projects that we've got going on, man, my old Suburban, the 96 Chevy K2500, I love it. I wish it wasn't so dark, you could get a better view of it, but a lot of you guys have seen it. But for, probably over a year now, I've been having a problem with it. It starts on at about, let's say, 65 miles an hour, and it goes away at about 78 miles an hour. And it's a vibration coming from what seems to be the rear. I'm not 100% sure about that, but it doesn't vibrate through the pedals or the steering wheel very much. It mostly is, you feel it through the floor. And so I've been all up underneath that truck. And if you don't know, or if you've never heard the story on that, it's a 96 model K2500. It's a 3/4 ton Suburban. But what's kind of special about this one is it's ex-FBI and it was government spec. So it has a 350 Chevrolet in it instead of a 454 or a diesel. A lot of them had 454s and diesels. And the diesels, they may be good, I don't know, but 80s and 90s model GM diesels were never known for being some of the best, you know, like the Cummins or something like that. They weren't sought after like those are. But anyway, I've got one with a 5.7 350, you know, 4-wheel drive. It's a 3/4 ton, so it has a more aggressive stance than, you know, your half ton. It also has really stiff suspension, so it doesn't roll around and feel all body rolly like a lot of the half tons do. So anyway, vibration comes on, and you know, I don't know, it's really almost more of a shake situation. It comes on at about 60 to 65 and doesn't go away until you get close to 80. And so what am I doing? Well, I'm still driving it, but I'm driving around, oftentimes going 10 miles an hour over the speed limit because I'm trying to keep my truck from shaking like crazy. And it's annoying, you know, and no cop in the world is going to let me off the hook when I tell him, I'm like, oh, hey man, you know, this thing shakes at a certain speed, so I have to go a little faster. You think that's going to get me off the hook? Hell no. I'll probably get my head smashed into the car hood or something for talking back to him. So I'll probably just say, yes, sir, I was speeding. Let's move on with it. Write me the ticket. Anyway, I've narrowed it down. I did some checks, you know, I got underneath it, checked everything, checked all the front end components. Everything looks decent. You know, I don't want to say great, but it looks decent. The undercarriage is immaculate on the thing. It came from Texas, so it's not a big rusty truck or anything. It must have been a dry part of Texas because there ain't a lick of rust on it, on the undercarriage anywhere. You know, other than like there's some little surface rust on the frame here and there because they didn't do anything to it. But otherwise, beautiful truck. But there's this problem. It vibrates. And honestly, guys, it's done this the entire time I've had it. And I put a set of, not Cooper, what are they? General grabber tires on the thing at one point. Because I was like, hey, maybe it's these Goodyear tires that are on here, because that's what it had on it before. So I put those tires on, ended up going for a big long drive. We went out to the Rocky Mountains in it several times, and it seemed better, but it wasn't 100%. I could still feel it, but it was real light. And I don't know if that was a balancing issue with the tires or what. And then another weird thing is it doesn't seem to change whenever I like rotate the tires. I can rotate the tires around and nothing changes on it. That's what's so bizarre about that. So I've been racking my brain thinking, is it, you know, like a bent rear axle, or, you know, maybe it's a bent drive shaft or something, and it's not showing itself until it gets up to a certain RPM or a certain resonance or whatever. So I've been racking my brain on that. And if you've been following for a while, you know that my black Chevy, I can't show you because it's too dark out there. Yeah, you can't even see my black truck. It's so dark. Nothing but a little bit of aluminum there. Just anyway, that black Chevy, it's a 93 model, and I've had that longer than the Suburban. It was my first GMT 400, or OBS as the kids today like to call them. It was my first truck of that body style that I owned, and I've driven several of them for companies over the years too, and they're a great platform. But man, that 93 model, it's a TBI, and it's very early fuel injection for, you know, commercial mass-produced fuel injection system. It may have been the first one. I don't know. I don't think this is necessarily version 2. This was like one of the last years they put TBI on a 350. But I've been having problems with that. And you guys that have followed the channel, you know I made several videos about that, going over that. And I changed every damn sensor on the thing. Because I got to a point where I was testing this stuff and it was testing out good. And I'm like, well, but it might be, it was intermittent. It wasn't doing it all the time. And it started dying more and more and running more and more doggish. So finally, guys, I'm going to tell you the truth. This is an admission here, and I hate to even tell you, but for the first time in like 15 years, I took a vehicle in and paid someone else, another mechanic, to diagnose it for me because I got so frustrated with it. And you know, my initial instinct was to go down to AutoZone or O'Reilly's and borrow one of their fuel pump testers or whatever, fuel pressure tester, and do that system. But I never did it. Instead, I started reading forums and I started thinking, oh, well, this sounds a lot like the problems that I'm having here. So I would order that sensor or throw it in my Rock Auto basket, right? In hopes that maybe I would stumble across it and find it. But I don't like operating that way. I prefer doing diagnostic work myself and certainly don't want to pay someone else. But he didn't rake me over the coals too badly. It was like 125 bucks. He did full diagnostic, like exhaust gas stuff, checked that and everything. And then I guess from his readings, he was like, well, I need to check the fuel pump because something ain't right. Luckily, it was doing it when I dropped it off. So it kept doing it, and he could tell as soon as he started it up, it was running like crap. And he hooked it up to a fuel pressure tester, you know, a fuel pressure gauge, and he said it had 9 PSI. He said, that's right. That's why it's running like dog shit. He said, sometimes they'll run. He said, but these TBIs, and I knew this myself already, he said they're super sensitive to low pressure. And so I don't know what's going on. Maybe that tube that's in the tank that connects the two different pieces together of the fuel pump, maybe that's bad. I paid to have a fuel pump put in it like, let's say back in 2007 or 8, and it was like 500 bucks. But see what I don't know, because I was busy working full time, overtime all the time. I didn't have time to do it myself, so I paid a guy to do it, like 500 bucks back then. What I don't know is if they just changed the little pump or if they changed the entire housing and sending unit and all that other stuff. And I don't know what quality they put in there. They may have put a AC Delco, which would be great, but maybe not. I don't know what they put in there. They may have put a cheapo China one in there, the cheapest one they could get, and marked the price. I have no idea. And unfortunately, that garage is now out of business, so I can't even go talk to them. And I don't have my receipt. But anyway, long story short, I think the fuel pump's bad, or something's going on with the fuel pump. It could be something electrical causing that in the fuel system, but something's going on. Now, one thing I don't know is where that guy, the mechanic, tested the pressure at. I guess I could call him and ask him because it's been relatively close to the time that he did it. But yeah, he charged me 125 bucks. I didn't have to get fuel all over the place. I didn't have to mess with it or worry about it. I let him do it. And this one time, I'm glad I did it because he pointed me right in the direction I need to go. Now, he wanted like $750 to change the fuel pump, and I was like, nah, thanks, but no thanks. I think I'll take my chances and do it myself. So that launched me into a whole nother 2 or 3 nights of reading the forums and guys arguing back and forth going, it's best to take the bed off. No, it's best to drop the tank. And then other guys, you know, like maybe let's say, like 15% of the comments would come in and say, what you need to do is cut a hole in there and put a door in the top of the bed. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't imagine taking a grinder to the top right above a fuel tank where there's fuel lines underneath there that if you get too deep, you might hit them and you're throwing sparks with a grinder. You could go kaboom real easy. And I'm not saying it can't be done, but I'm just not sure that it's as straightforward and easy as a lot of people think. And that's why when you see them, and you see them on the used market a lot, these trucks will have the worst hole cut in the bed. It looks like someone took a rusty hatchet to it. And so, guys, I have just been busy. And anytime I'm not fabricating or thinking or researching and trying to figure something out, I'm building a Rock Auto parts basket. Back to my white Suburban there, one thing that may be going on, and I noticed the other day when I was up under looking, I got underneath it and was just inspecting everything again. My right rear shock has fluid on the outside of it. Now, I'm not getting any like bouncy ride, but maybe I wouldn't because this has such heavy duty leaf springs that I might not notice it. So that didn't occur to me until I was reading some other forums last night. So I'm going to be buying some shock absorbers for that thing. If you guys have recommendations, again, it starts a whole nother argument. It seems the consensus right now is that Bilstein makes the best factory style shocks, But what I'm worried about is there are, like, I don't know, maybe 25% of the reviews that I read, these people are saying, well, it rides real harsh. And the last thing I want to do is make a K2500 Suburban with stiff leaf springs ride harder. So for that reason right there, I've been kind of leaning towards some Monroes or some, what's the other one? KYB or something like that. KY Jelly or something. I don't remember. But there's another one that is actually it's a decently reputable shock place. But man, again, you go on there to eBay or to Amazon or any of these places online or even Walmart, and you type in, you know, shock absorbers, and they're going to show you 50,000 shock absorbers that are made in China, probably by a little kid on a dirt floor, and or a Uyghur slave or whatever, and you have no say in that, and they're probably not going to last very long. And the names of these things like Dung Dang and all these weird Ching Xiao and, you know, Dong Face and all these other weird names that they'll have. I mean, I'm not exactly inspired to buy those types of shocks. And, you know, even if they say they have a massive warranty on them, the problem is it's only as good as the company issuing the warranty. So back to the white Suburban. One of the things that I'm doing right now is I'm buying new tires, but I'm having to buy new tires that fit the new wheels that I just purchased. And I might as well show you those if you didn't see them last time. If you're one of my over 30,000 subscribers, I appreciate every one of you, but notifications aren't going out to you, and I'm sorry about that. Also, people complain to me all the time that their comments are getting deleted, and I go into YouTube. There's a special thing I can go in there into YouTube where they hold certain comments, and I tell you the truth, I'm not finding any of them, so I don't know what's going on. I don't know why your comments are getting deleted, but keep trying, guys. It does help the channel out. You know, avoid the cuss words and different things like that. Use coded language if you have to. But anyway, I bought these wheels. They're off of I think around, let's say 2000 to, you know, I don't know, 2005 H1 Hummer. Or I'm sorry, H2 Hummer. The H1 is the military Hummer. The H2 is the civilian version that is on a GM 3/4 ton platform. Just so happens to be the exact same platform that white Suburban is made out of, K2500. So what that means is these wheels are a direct replacement for your Steelies that you have on there. And the other thing that occurs to me is steel bends, aluminum cracks and breaks. So I've got a set of 5 of them here. I got a smoking deal, like 130 bucks. And I was actually playing earlier with it to see if my centers are going to fit and look decent. And they are, but it looks like they're going to have to be trimmed down because they don't fit. There's like a little flange in here that's made to hold the Hummer hubcaps on. And maybe I'll get a set of Hummer hubcaps. They don't look bad, but I don't want them to say Hummer on them. And I think you can get some blank ones and put like a Chevy emblem or something on there. Maybe I'll do that. But on the back wheels, the axle protrudes through that hole. So you have to cut a hole around there to clearance for the axle. And I don't know how I feel about that. I'd rather use these. They already have the clearancing built inside of them like that. So, and I think that looks pretty cool. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. How's that going to look on the white Buffalo? That's what I call that old truck. You can't even hardly see it now. But man, what a great truck. And I want to make it as good as possible. So I spent a bunch of time on forums again, just researching my brains out on what are the best, you know, the best tires that I can afford, because I didn't want to buy Generals again because I'm not sure. Maybe it's not the tires, maybe it's the wheels that are bent. And again, keep in mind, ex-FBI truck. You know, it occurred to me, maybe the drive shaft's bent, maybe an axle is slightly bent or something like that, or maybe one of those Steelies is bent, and maybe it's bent in a weird way because when I look around the edges of the wheels on those steel wheels over there, when I look around the edges for, you know, obvious signs of curb impact or something like that, I don't see anything like that. But what if it's not bent this way and instead it's bent this way? And I don't know. One thing I've been meaning to do is just go out on the highway, get it shaking as much as I can, and have my wife next to me looking at all the tires. I think what may be going on is I may have a basketball wheel going on. Have you guys seen that? You get next to a vehicle and you look over, and usually one of their rear wheels is going ba 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 ba. That could be an out around tire. It could be a bubble in a tire, like a separation or something like that. It also could be a bent wheel. And if it was bent this way, you know, to that off the hub, then that could actually do it, especially at certain RPMs and speeds. So I don't know. I admit I'm taking a shot in the dark. And part of the reason I'm doing it is I already wanted to put these wheels on it anyway, because I think they look killer. They're aluminum, so they should be a little bit lighter weight. And so I'm going to do that, and shock absorbers, and hopefully, and new tires. So I did a ton of research, and again, I keep going back and forth. You know, I was looking at some Mickey Thompson, Baja, Boss, and those look pretty good, but they were a lot more aggressive than I was really wanting to go for. And I was worried they'd have that, you know, mud tire roar on the highway. I really don't want that. The Generals haven't done that. They've been pretty good. Never had any flats or anything. They've been good tires. I've never been stuck in the Generals. But they've gone up, man. They've gone up a lot compared to the last time I bought a set in like 2008, let's say, or 9. They've gone up substantially. All tires have. And again, you go type in your tire size, which I'm looking at 265, 70, 17s. So I had to research that. What tires are going to fit on my truck without me having to, you know, put a lift kit on it, because it's already at the perfect height. I don't want to raise it up more than an inch. It's about right where I want it to be, because I like to get in and out of the thing without having to have a step on the side of my truck. And I like other people to be able to get in and out of my truck too, like my wife. And generally, I have to pull her up in there from the driver's side. I pull her up through the passenger side, and she can get in because she's not as tall as me. So I don't want to make it any harder on her or have to put a step on the thing. So anyway, new wheels, got brand new tires coming after much research for like 5 days in a row, guys. I read forums, I read reviews. I would have a tire in the basket or a set of tires in the basket, and at the last minute I'd find something I didn't like and throw them out, and the search would be all starting over again from scratch. I really wish there was a better way to do it. Other than just relying on reviews. And you can't trust Amazon reviews alone, and you certainly can't trust any tire company reviews alone, because you don't know if a lot of these people aren't just employees or shills, you know, or bots coming in there and making reviews. So anyway, what did I end up ordering? I ordered some Kenda Cleaver RT. They're supposed to be in between a mud and an all-terrain tire, a little bit more aggressive. And I've got another set of Kendas that I bought in the past for my 1-ton dually, and I've liked them so far. They don't seem to flat spot or anything when they're sitting for more than a day or two. So that's the plan. Tires, wheels. I'm going to try to get something I didn't even know existed, but it's called road force balancing. I'm going to try to find a place around here that'll do that for me. And I'm not going to use Discount Tire or any of these other big chains, because they tend to hire, warm-bodied teenagers typically, and they don't last long. And I can't blame them. You know, a lot of the conditions aren't great. But what I'm finding is the last few times I've used this big chains like that, I mean, the service has just been terrible. It's been slow, and I've had problems. So I'm going to try to find somebody that's been doing tires for a long time and have them do a road force balance on the thing. And all that means is they basically, when they're balancing it, they have another roller that comes in and simulates what it would be like driving down the road. And on these all-terrain tires and mud tires and stuff, apparently that's really important. It can help you get a better balance. So that's the plan. So far, I've spent about $1,000 or maybe a little more on this plan. I'm probably up to about $1,200, including the wheels, mounting and balancing the tires, because I'm not going to do those. Because they're aluminum wheels, I'm not going to mount them and balance them myself. I'm going to send them off to somebody that has a road force machine and a rim clamp, because I don't want them getting screwed up. So guys, I hope I didn't exhaust you with all the different things that I've got going on. But I'll tell you the truth, I only told you about maybe 10% of the projects that I'm dealing with every day. And depending on what the weather's doing, if it's raining cats and dogs, I can't do a lot of the projects, you know, on the outside yard stuff, garden stuff. I mean, our garden is just exploding. We've got tomatoes rotting on the vines out there because I can barely keep up with the yard maintenance this year because it's raining so much. We've got the greenest, luscious yard we've ever had, but it takes a lot of work to keep up with it and not get kicked out of the good neighborhood club, right? Because all my neighbors are what I call motards. They mow every 3 days, and I'm not exaggerating. My neighbors over here next to me, across the, at least one set of them. The other guy is not like that. He's not quite like that, but he mows a lot more than I do too. They all do. They all mow more than me, and they do all these grooming things to make their yards look perfect and like a golf course and stuff. And hey, that's cool if that's what you want, but don't expect everyone else to fall onto that same line of thinking, because I don't have time for that shit. I want to fix cars. I want to modify my tractor so I don't get sunburned when I'm out there in the field doing brush hogging and working on the 100 acres, which is really what we want to push towards more than anything. And that's why I've been trying to just be more stoic in my life and not complain about things that are outside of my control. Just find solutions, move to those solutions, and get on with it and get my projects done. Because man, it feels so good when something like this comes to completion and you can put it on, and it activates parts of your mind you might not be using. Like you got to figure stuff out. You got to fabricate this thing to make it work. And I didn't see a lot of, I mean, there's a couple of them on there on YouTube. There's like 2 or 3 that are decent designs, and I sort of like the way they designed them, but I'm trying to keep mine lightweight. So I think mine will be unique in that regard, is it'll be able to be taken on and off easily. And I don't want the front struts. A lot of guys will come in and put those front struts on there, and that's the easy way to do it. But I don't want that. I want it to be supported from the center point of the roll bar. I did see one guy had a great idea. It was an interesting idea. He put a pivot back there, a single pivot point. He had a backhoe, and he could spin that thing around and lock it, you know, with a tractor pin up at the top. And that way he could have shade over his backhoe as well. But I don't have a backhoe, so I have no reason to do that. And it did seem like being mounted on a single pivot point would make it tend to be a lot more vibraty and unstable. I want this thing to be nice and stable, like it's a factory part. So wish me luck, guys. I've got a million projects to do. Let me know what you're working on out there in your shop, or out on your, maybe you don't have a shop, maybe you're doing shade tree stuff. Let me know the stuff you're working on to just to get through it. Because yeah, am I watching all this stuff with Epstein and Trump and, you know, Israel and war and, you know, all the things that are going on, nuclear subs and different things going into areas really close to Russia? Sure, I'm watching all that stuff and I'm paying attention to it, but I have no control over it. So I'm trying to take control of my life and do things that I do have control over. Anyway, that's the plan this week. Hope you guys are having a good time out there and getting your projects done. Let me know down in the comments what you got going on your homestead. And until then, we'll see you next time.